Hey guys. So I wanted to talk about something that I've been wanting to talk about for quite a long time. Um, I use a lot of artistic inspiration in my practice, very directly, in not even in like a subtle way, very, very much directly. Because I find for me, it's mainly literature. Because when I read a book, I can find so much spiritual significance in it. Now, most of the time, it's not supposed to be there, but that's just the way that my mind works. Um, and so, if a book can really touch me in a spiritual way, it can change the way that I look at spirituality or change my own personal beliefs. It's very powerful, so I utilize that in my practice. Can be either, what's the word I'm looking for, metaphorically or literally or, whatever. Um, in one of the books that I have, about communicating with fairies and the fae, is that one good way to learn about the beings you're communicating with is to read fairy tales like Snow White and Sleeping Beauty, anything that has really a fae in it, like trolls or dwarves or fairies or elves or something. So, luckily for me, I have this big book of fairy tales, the world's best fairy tales. It's Reader's Digest. So, this is really old, which I like. I love old books. I think my great grandparents bought this for my mom and her siblings, my aunt and my uncles, back in the day. Yes, 1967, which is awesome. Oh no, it's from Aunt Jeannie and Uncle Cook. So it's from my great aunt and uncle. It's kind of falling apart, but that's okay. It has so many fairy tales in it. Let's see. Yeah, it's a lot. um, so when I read that in that one book, in the fairy book, I was kind of I can't believe I had never realized it before, I guess you could say. Because I had always, when I would read a fairy tale, the parts that would stick out most to me would be the characters, and mainly that of the fae, because fairies and dwarves and elves and stuff were usually the antagonist, or they were um, helping the protagonist. So they weren't always main characters. So that's one of the reasons they stuck out so much, is because they kind of dominate the story, even though they're not the main character. And I learned so much by reading fairy tales. I know the Fae so much better now. I feel that they're a lot closer to me. I can communicate with them so much better now because I know what they're like. I know the nature of each type of being. And so when you want to communicate and work with the Fae, you need to know those kinds of things because they can be very tricky and they can deceive you. And so you have to know them and know the way that they think, the way that they act. And so I utilize fairy tales a lot in my practice. And another thing that relates to that is mythology. Now, I have this book, I don't know where I got it from, but it's Myths and Enchantment Tales. It has Greek and Roman myths in it. They say they're Greek, but some of the names that they use are the Roman equivalents, not the original Greek names, so. But they're pretty much straightforward mythology. And I have been using myths to learn specifically about the Greek and Roman gods because that's really, Greek mythology. Those are the types of beings you're going to learn about. And it teaches me a lot about satyrs and other, magical beings from that area of the world. So if you work within a Greek pantheon or a Roman pantheon, reading mythology and reading myths would be a really good idea, because it kind of shows you the personalities of the gods and teaches you about them and teaches you about the different, like I said, magical beings. And it's good for kids too, because kids don't like sitting there, oh, this is who this is, and this is who this is, and they rule, or blah, 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 blah. So when you read them myths or fairy tales, they learn through that way, subliminally, so that when they grow up, they remember these things. Same thing happened to me. I used to read myths and fairy tales every day when I was a kid, and I grew up knowing so much about the gods and about the fae just through reading. And so I still do that. And this is my favorite. I find Brian Froud's works to be amazing in my practice, because just the way that, just the way that he draws and paints fairies makes me feel like I'm in the picture and I'm, interacting with the subjects. And it has helped me get to know the fae so well. Whereas fairy tales helped me when I was younger. Now that I've matured in my practice, Brian Froud has helped me so much. His work is just so different from other fantasy artists, because it's not fantasy, it's real, and you feel that it's real. And so whenever I look at one of his pictures, it inspires me so much, and it takes me into that mindset to be able to, do a ritual or cast a spell or meditate or something like that. It's just by looking at a picture, it brings me out of the mundane and into the realm of the fae and of the supernatural. So I highly recommend all of his books for those of you who have never seen them before. This one is The World of Fairy. I love it. And beyond literature, of course, music. Like, everybody uses music. Everyone loves music. Whether you listen to certain type of music to get into that, state of being, into that ritualistic magic mindset, or you play music during your rituals, or, whatever. Music has been used since the beginning of time to help spirituality and spiritual awareness. And so I use music a lot. Art is another big thing, and that's one of the things I've seen trending in the pagan community lately. Not necessarily trending, but emerging, is a lot of pagans painting and drawing and things like that. They're doing it from a spiritual point of view, so they're drawing, the gods and the goddesses, or fairies, or, whatever. And I think that's really great, because it helps witches kind of connect with their own spirituality, because when you're reading, a how-to book about magic, you're kind of taking someone else's spirituality and beliefs and putting them on yourself. Whereas if you do a work of art, like a painting or a drawing, you're taking what is inside of you, your own spiritual, identity, and putting it out there, so it helps you see what it is inside of you, and I think that's really helpful. I've been starting to do that a little bit. So yeah, I just think being creative in your practice is super important. It's one of the most important things to me, because it's not just about, the so-and-so ritual and setting it up right and doing it exactly right. You write the ritual, you put your own intent into it, and beyond rituals and Sabbats and things like that, just in everyday life, being creative helps you take your spiritual self and put it into something tangible that other people can see and that you can see and You know what I'm saying? And so I think being creative is really important through any medium, through food, through, kitchen witchery or green witchery out in the garden, or art or music or literature, writing. I write a lot of, spiritual things. Making videos like this. So yeah, any mode really. And I want to know what you guys think about this subject, and I would really love to hear what kind of creative things you do in your practice to, I don't know, express your spiritual creativity. I'd be really interested to know. So please leave a comment or a video response. So I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!